right, Dax, another offseason is upon us. What's the toughest part about being a journeyman in a new city?
Well, Gordo, you know this as well as I do. Being a journeyman in a new city or a city that you're staying in is always difficult. The uncertainty of the future. Are you going to stay? Are you going to go somewhere else? Back in 2020 with Nashville SC, when we had a brand new team, everyone coming to a new city, there was only one person that we trusted to get our real estate needs done, and that's Erin Mishu with Fikes Realty Group. She made everything perfect, flawless, seamless. We had absolutely no issues getting into our house here in Nashville, and all my teammates felt the same way. You can check Erin out at Major League.
Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, the Major League Journeymen. I got with me the notorious duo, number three, and counting, still counting, in all-time appearances lists for Major League Soccer, Dax McCarty, and number one in all-time appearances post the 90th minute mark, checking in for game-winning goals, Alan Gordon, everybody. Also, taking, I think, a strong leap in the power rankings for number one in your hearts. Gordo, your appearance and the quotable references that you had last week were, I mean, for me, some of the best. Absolute gold out of your mouth last week.
That's what I do, Gargs. You know that. That's why the people come to see, you know? Like, if I'm well-spoken, people are going to show up like, oh, another well-spoken guy. Awesome.
Another big word from Gordo.
Another misspoken word from Gordo. It was pretty good. The coaching carousel, though, still really hasn't taken off quite yet for a couple clubs. We did chat offline. Minnesota. So we're thinking that Minnesota's rolling with their interim for the short term.
I think that is confirmed.
That is confirmed. Okay, so there's the boyfriend's boyfriend or the
boyfriend. Well, he's been waiting to date her. He's like, hey, I'll date you.
All right, fine, I'll do it.
You don't even have to call me your boyfriend.
Gargs, I'm surprised we didn't mention my my new digs. I'm on the road. I'm on the road this week.
Which part of your new digs? The matching sconces next to your bed, or your son's headphones that are on right now?
I'm in the hotel. I had to run to Walmart. I have none of my gear, none of my recording gear that we spent hundreds of dollars on, and I had to run to Walmart today just to get some headphones. Even though Gordo hasn't worn headphones in weeks, and it probably still sounds like crap when he talks. But listen, I will say
the effort out of you is already 10 times what Gordo puts into this.
Well, that's why Gordo's,
it's always appreciated, Dax.
That's why Gordo's perpetually on the bottom of the power rankings. Everyone knows that, except you were late today. But I will say,
you know what it is, Dax. This is a theme is coming out of this. You show up on time, prepared, which is why you're on the all-time appearances list. And Gordo comes in the 93rd minute and steals your thunder with the dumbass jokes. It is too true.
I think our loyal supporters and followers can see who the real star of the show is, huh? Gordo tries to win them over with his cheap tricks. I win people over with my lovely views. I'm going to take you guys out for a move.
Oh,
how do you like that?
What are we looking at?
We're looking at the Braves Stadium.
Yeah.
Nice little view here, and with my
What
dig.
is that called? Sun-Kissed Park?
Oh, he doesn't know.
I don't want you to put me on the spot like that because I don't know.
Hey, listen, you're only staying at the facility. You might want to pick up on what the name of it is.
I'm not a baseball guy.
Probably a big
we're in the off season right now.
All right.
There's no games.
That's fine. You know where we are, though, Dax, which that's a perfect segue. We are in preseason, and Atlanta United did have their first preseason game. Did it feel like a first date for you?
It did. Couple
and
butterflies.
How did you perform? Are you getting invited back for a second date or what?
They have no choice. They've got to invite me back. I don't know if they want to. There was some serious rust. I'll put it that way.
90-day fiance.
Yeah,
you're in no matter what.
It was great, man. Like we've been working hard for a couple weeks now, trying to implement some new things. Obviously, it's an exciting time for me because I touched on it a little bit. But there's some new coaching points that I'm starting to get more accustomed to. Whenever you change teams, that's always kind of, I think, priority number one is to how quickly can you get up to speed with the new approach of your team, how they're going to play, how they want to play with the ball, without the ball. And I've been excited to catch up with that. And look, preseason is preseason. I think we played Birmingham Legion down there in Birmingham on their home turf. It is turf. The weather was insane. Crazy wind.
It is
rain.
a soccer specific stadium though, right?
No, it's not. I believe it's for football. I believe it's UAB's football team, and maybe and maybe the soccer team plays there too. I'm not sure, but I know they.
Okay.
I know that Birmingham Legion uses it for their home stadium. They got a good turnout. We had a lot of Atlanta fans down there. We won the game 2-1, which was great. There's some rust, of course. I didn't feel super sharp, but just to get 30 minutes in the legs, and something that, our head coach has really been emphasizing in this preseason is, yes, of course, I care about the process. I care about, how we play and how we go about our business and implementing new ideas and all this and that. But, he wants to win. He's like, I want to get in the habit of winning these preseason games because I want that to lead into the season. And I love that. I think that's a great mentality to have. And so I think the best thing to take away from the game is that, we split the groups, played, 30 minutes one group, 30 minutes another group. And then, we had a ton of our academy kids come in and play the last 30 minutes. And I heard they were awesome. I only saw a few minutes of it. We had to do a little lift right after our 30 minutes, but they secured the result for us. It was 2-1 when they went in. And we had, mind you, some 15, 16, 17-year-old kids playing against a pretty good USL team, a USL team that's had some success the last couple of years. And the fact that they were able to go in there and hold on to the result for us and hold their own, I think that speaks to how talented the Academy of Atlanta United is. And it's going to be exciting to see a couple of these kids in a few years represent the club.
Dude, so I run a club in St. Louis, Lufuse Athletic, and we've gone down and played Atlanta United's academy. One, the setup is right at the first team training facility, which is amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing to have your academy set up there. But also, too, like the teams and the talent was insane. It was insane to get like a first look at it. I still am somewhat baffled by how they're not really producing first team talent out of their academy. I know that they have the one kid, George Campbell, that came up and played. Andrew Carlton was, I think, their first academy product.
I think Caleb Wiley is a product.
Caleb Wiley. Yeah. Caleb Wiley. Yep. It seemed like this was an academy a couple years ago that was primed to absolutely explode because of the amount of talent that is in Atlanta. And I've been curious as to why we don't see a ton of it.
Dude, I don't have the answer to that question. All I can tell you is that in training, I'll train with some of these kids and they'll be in possession exercises with us or small-sided games with us. And I'll go up and like ask some assistant coaches after. I'll be like, how old's this kid? How old's this kid? 15, 16. Yeah. I'm like, that's legitimately crazy. Like how
it is insane.
And not to put too much pressure on them. I won't name names or anything, but like just really impressive. Some of the stuff that these kids can do at their ages. I mean, some of them are sophomores in high school. Like, I'm asking them about homegrown contracts and like colleges. They're like, I don't know yet. Like, I'm just trying to finish class. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, man. So it was obviously, look, good to get some minutes under the belt, but yeah, I was really impressed with how the academy kids did.
Max, be a little bit more specific if you can. What's the number one thing you're trying to kind of adjust to between Gary's tactics and Pineda's?
And Pineda.
Yeah, it's a good question, Gordo. I would say for the most part, there's some big differences. I can't believe you asked a good question. I'm actually shocked right now. I'm caught off guard and speechless.
Stop like pretending that I don't have good questions.
Wow. I would say, well, it's twofold, right? Because the way that I think we want to defend is we want to be the aggressor. We want to be high up the field. We want to be proactive. And we tried it with Nashville some. We tried to high press. We would high press at home. But for the most part, we would want to sit in a mid block, sit in a low block and absorb pressure, hit on the counterattack. And I think it's just a lot more proactive with Atlanta United. We want to be high up the field, pressing from goal kicks, have our back line very high, right? I mean, that's at least, what we've been working on a little bit. And then with the ball, there's some differences. We want our goalkeepers to play out from the back under pressure. Doesn't matter how high a team is pressing us. We want to try to invite them onto us, press us if we want to play tight in tight spaces under pressure, and then break their press and create good advantages and numerical advantages for our really good attacking dangerous players. And so some big differences, right? It's a little bit of an adjustment, but I love it. I love the way that this preseason has been going. I love the way that the progression has been going. Like I said before, with the possession and the rondos and the short, sharp stuff. I mean, it's really enjoyable. It's really hard, right? My groins are sore constantly, but dude, it's fun, man. It's like you're at a new school, right? Like meeting all the new kids and you're the new guy. And like, you know, I've gotten a couple megs and rondos, and like that just is such a good feeling,
it just
right?
opens friendship.
When the boys are celebrating you, you know, I mean, there's no better way to introduce yourself. So it's been fun, man.
So I know you obviously played against these guys, and I know that there's some new faces in there, but has anybody, if I asked you for one name that stuck out as either just really sharp early on or impressive early on, but you got to give me one?
Oh, man. There's so many good players. You guys know all the players that played well for them last year, of course, but one guy I've been really impressed with is this guy, Saba Lubjinsky. He's like, he's a Georgian, and in Europe, Gordo, there's a Georgia here in the States and there's a Georgia in Europe as well. Okay. Just a little
from Salt Lake back in the day. Is he still playing?
Sabarillo.
Yeah.
Nope, different players. No, but this guy, he didn't play much for him last year. I mean, he played some.
He came
right?
in mid-year, didn't he?
He came in the middle of the season and he scored some goals for them and he got some assists and you know, I don't think he played as much as some of the other players, and he's just been really impressive, man. Really good player, really technical, really good 1v1 player, clever, smart, good touch. I mean, this is just, you know, the guys and the talent level you're dealing with here in Atlanta. The fact that a guy like that he wasn't like a locked on starter for them at the end of last year. Mm-hmm. It's just, he's really been impressive. So it's been fun to learn about some of the new guys.
Hands down, man for man, roster to roster, Atlanta just takes an absolute piss on Nashville. That's what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. You're saying that. I'm not. I would say the biggest difference is just the way the teams are built. Just completely different philosophies, different player profiles. And I think that's the beauty about MLS is like you can win, especially in MLS, in a number of different ways. You don't have to have a strict way of building a roster or scouting talent, right? And so I hope you like the way that I danced around that.
You danced. You tap danced on that one.
That was good, huh? That was really good.
Have you gotten a look at the best player on the roster in Almada?
Not yet. He's away with Argentina for their Olympic qualifying tournament. So
okay,
we've tried to watch some of his games. We had one of his games on in the cafeteria. I think they were playing. I can't remember who they were playing. Peru, maybe. I'm not sure, but he had a goal and an assist, and so I mean, he looks like he's in top form already. I mean, you guys know he's going to be an MVP candidate. Just super talented player, and he hasn't been in yet, but. Just to add him to the pieces that I see that are already here, it's exciting time for Atlanta United. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
How do the guys in Atlanta talk about him?
I mean, to be fair, it hasn't really been talked about much because he's not here. But obviously, like today, I was having a conversation with one of the fullbacks, and he was like, "Look, sometimes Thiago just kind of drifts out wide, and that's where he likes to find space. And that makes my job easier because when I get on the ball, I make a 5-yard pass to him and he'll dribble 3 guys and get an assist or score a goal or draw a penalty. And he's like, that makes everyone's job pretty easy. So
yeah,
that was the extent of, you know, kind of the conversations about him, because I think he's earned the respect of not just the guys in Atlanta, but everyone in the league about how talented he actually is. And look, they don't need to talk about him to me. Like I've played against him 4 or 5 times now. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I'm not going to enjoy it in training, but I will enjoy it on game day when he's on my team and not the other team.
Gordo, I'm curious because I was racking my brain trying to think about this, and I don't think that I couldn't come up with it. Have you ever played on a team where one of the youngest guys on the team is the best player on the team? I ask this while you think about it. I ask this question because I feel like it's starting to trend that way in our league where the best players are not the vets anymore. The best players are these young, like incredible talents that are getting sold for $30 million.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like I was trying to think about how this changes a locker room and what the dynamics ultimately end up looking like. And I don't have any experience to draw from. And I'm asking you and wondering if you do.
Landon was, the youngest player back in '04 when he came over to the Galaxy.
Okay.
Championship in '05. He was our best player. We had Kobe on the team, who was the reigning, Captain America, I guess.
Yep.
He was just coming out of his prime. And so, yeah, I mean, I lived that, but Landon was different. Landon was different in a lot of ways. That's why he's arguably the GOAT. He was super mature. It was really weird, like growing up with Landon, because I always felt like he was older than I was because I'm super immature and I still am. No, but he was just, he was just kind of bred to be in front of the camera, be the ultimate professional, stuff like that. So I did expect that now that I think about it. But you're to your point, I mean, it's happening more and more across the league. Landon was kind of an outlier at that point. And there was a couple other guys, but for the most part, it was an older guys league at that point in time when we were playing back in the day. Besides Landon, you could probably, if you really wrote it down, you could think of a couple others. I'm sure Dax could. But
Beasley, like guys in that class were kind of the first class of like young phenoms, right? That came into locker rooms that were expected to do big time things. Some of them did some. I mean, he was on a Chicago roster that was deep. So I don't know if he was necessarily like the best player on, but Landon's a good reference, but he is a different case study too. He was never, I don't know, similar to what you're saying. Like I never felt like he was 21 years old. He was like 46 every year.
So probably because of his hairline, half of it, but it doesn't take that away from him. Doesn't take anything away from him.
Still, don't talk about hairlines, all right? Some of us aren't blessed with that beautiful frock you have. I can't grow a better mustache than you, though. I'm sad you shaved it.
Challenge accepted.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and strongly disagree with you on that one, Dax. But I'd like to see the challenge. Dax, have you thought about that? Have you thought about like, you are clearly a respected voice in the locker room. You're clearly now a veteran. You are going to hold a different place in Atlanta and in Atlanta's locker room than maybe you held with Nashville or with Chicago. Sure. Have you thought about how to manage, or if it's even part of your responsibility in terms of managing these young players that are still really kind of growing in? I mean, even some of the things that you said about these academy kids that are 15 and 16 years old, which realistically might find themselves in a first team locker room in not that long, this year.
I absolutely do. I take that responsibility on board because I think that's naturally something I enjoy doing. I do. As I've gotten older, I've enjoyed seeing young players come up through academies or be signed to first team contracts and maybe struggle in the beginning, but then be able to come through on their own and have really successful careers. And I think it started, maybe in New York. I mean, New York was one of the first teams I was on where they really started to believe and develop really good, young, talented players with guys like Sean Davis, guys like Tyler Adams, and to be able to have a small part and be able to help them in any way that I could. I mean, that's something that I enjoyed doing. Right. And it's not for everybody. Like most guys are helpful if they're asked for help. But most guys want to just do their job and get on with their business and enjoy the locker room, enjoy playing. I think where I'm at in my career right now, there's no question that I provide and I can be a benefit to younger guys and to try to help them get confidence back with little nuanced ideas about tactics and body shapes and touches and all the little things that maybe you don't think about when you're a young guy, right? And so I take it on board myself. It's not something that like they've asked me to do, but that's just naturally, I think, what I enjoy doing anyways. And so, yeah, man, it's definitely something that I will take on board. And if I can help, even older, like veteran guys, like I'm older than them. The only guy who's probably not asking for advice from me is Guzan. So it's been a fun ride, man.
So, I mean, you're not the only one that we just welcomed in another big time number 10 signing to arguably the West Coast version of Atlanta United in the Seattle Sounders and kind of the way that they're set up. Pedro de la Vega, heralded number 10. I think he's a number 10. He might be a number 9. He might be a 7. He might be 11. I don't know if anybody really knows. I don't know if you guys read some of the comments from Schmetzer. He was like, yeah, I don't really know where we're going to play him. He's an attacking player and we'll find him some space, which I don't know, man. It kind of seemed weird to like go out and make such a big signing and to not really have like a clear spot for him on the field. Threw up some red flags.
I disagree, Dan. I'm going to disagree with you. I think that in general, the way the game is trending. What was that?
I was trying to see who the hell this De La Vega guy was. I was trying
Gordo, get off the betting websites while we're recording.
Chill out, dude. All right. Do whatever that is in your personal time. Listen, Gargs, I think that now in general, the old school classic Ladero style type number 10 that Seattle, I think, has been accustomed to for so many years, which made them unbelievably successful. I think that that's trending in a different direction now. I think that attacking players in general, unless you're an out and out striker, I think that these guys have fluidity to kind of play anywhere in the attack. Right. And so my thing with him, the Schmetzer comments, to me, I don't think it's a red flag because I think Schmetzer knows that he's got, and this is, I'm just saying this in particular towards Seattle. You have a guy like Christian Roldan. He can do a job kind of anywhere in midfield. So plug him where he's going to be at his best or where you might need someone, right? Jordan Morris. He can play on the left. He can play up top. Very fluid. Rusnak. He can play deeper. He can play as a 10. He can play out wide if you need him, right? And so I think Schmetzer is just kind of like, we'll get this guy. He's a super talented attacking player. And I think he's Argentinian. Maybe he was playing at Lanús. I'm not really sure. Is that where he was from?
You're accurate on both. Yep.
So look, for me, it's like, hey, is this guy really good? Yes. Can he score goals and get assists? Yes. Where is he going to complement like my other attacking pieces and where can I put him to be at his best? So I don't really think it's that big of a red flag. I think if the guy has talent, Schmetzer is just like, look, it's my job to figure out where he's going to be at his best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I can see that viewpoint. Gordo, you agree with Dax?
Yeah, I mean that was my initial thought. I think it's the exact opposite. I mean, I would have been a little bit more articulate, but I agree exactly. I think it's the opposite of a red flag. I think it's a green flag. I think it's one of the best things a coach could possibly say because it means that he's got things under control. That we have a lot of good pieces in the midfield specifically. The only guy, to Dax's point, that you really have in a that you need to be in a certain spot is Rui Diaz, right up top. But the midfield, they got 5-6 guys.
You probably need Rui Diaz or Jordan Morris up top and João Paulo as like their like holding number 6 midfielder. And the rest of the positions, they play with a lot of fluidity.
Right. And so I think that's great. I think we gave a lot of praise to Columbus and look what they did. They came through with the championship, but that's what they were doing. Whether or not they were saying it or not, but you watched them play. We talked about it on the air. They were moving and rotating everywhere. I mean, a guy that you saw, 1 minute, the play dictated, he was rolling inside and he could end up on the other side. And it was just very fluid. So I think that's a positive sign for them, for him to be like, you know what? He's basically what he's saying is, listen, I got 3 different positions this guy can play and we can move him. We're going to figure that out during preseason. Let's just find out what the best flow is between these guys because they're all really intelligent players.
Yeah. So part of me, I guess, just looks a little bit further than what you guys are saying. I think at the surface, it's fine, right? Like, yeah, he's an attacking piece and we're going to add him into our mix because we have a ton of attacking pieces and this is good. The next evolution of that, though, is like, we're not talking about just a journeyman player. We're not talking about just an everyday guy. We're talking about arguably their biggest signing that came off the heels of them losing a Nico Ladero. And we don't really know and maybe this could all be fluff and conjecture from Schmetzer too. Sure. He don't really know where he's going to put him either. So like you go out and you get a great player or a great attacking player, and you don't know how you're going to use them. if they're spending, and I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say they just went out and bought him for 10 million, and they're expecting to sell him for 20 million, and you don't know how you're going to use them. How are you going to recoup that investment to make sure that you go and sell them for 20 million if you don't even know where you're going to put them on the field and how you're going to complement your pieces?
Yeah, no, I see that.
That makes sense, but there's no way that they don't have an idea. That's a very arrogant Schmetzer comment, dude. He's like,
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it is a lot of that fluff. That's why it's a green flag to me, because I know that he's got a good idea of what he's going to do, and he's proven that, dude. I mean,
or is Schmetzer saying, yeah, this wasn't my guy, I didn't really want him, I'll figure out how to use him?
No, I don't think he's saying that.
I don't think.
I think he's playing coy a little bit. He's like, look, we're gonna find a place for him. He's gonna be great. Like, I'll figure it out.
Relax.
Schmetzer's earned that.
Relax.
Schmetzer has earned that right. He has earned that with the success that he's had with the Sounders. He's earned the right to just say, look, I'll figure it out.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. I think Schmetz is clearly a very successful coach and a thinker about how he utilizes his talent. But that one did just make me scratch my head a little bit because of what they're losing.
All the other big pieces, all the other big signings that have occurred in MLS, I think in the last couple of years, I think it's pretty clear that like we know where they play, right? Like if you're spending millions of dollars on a player, like it's pretty clear that like he plays in this position or that position. And even if people weren't clear, the coach would come out and say, this is what I plan on doing. So I do agree with you, Barbs.
This is our nine. This is our 10.
I agree with you that it's a little unorthodox, and I think the transfer fee is quite high. So for a talented player that I think a lot of people probably project to have a European future, yes, it is a little bit unorthodox the way that Schmetzer talked about him. And I didn't see the comments, but I take your word for it. I definitely see that point of view. But again, I don't really have that many concerns about it. He's young. He's probably got like a 7-year contract. So they're going to figure out the best way to use him probably this year and probably pretty quickly.
Yeah, just, like we're talking about, I think, the evolution of Major League Soccer, right? So looking at some of these rosters and these roster builds for some of the best clubs in the world, I would put Seattle in the best clubs in MLS, and I would put them in that category of maybe being a little bit more meticulous on how they add players and why or where they're going to add them. And that one for me just seemed a bit out of the ordinary, because you're going to spend a ton of money and you're still kind of tinkering or thinking through how these relationships are going to work out. And we see it at the top levels. Like when you go out and get a player, just because he's a great player doesn't mean he's going to fit in your squad. And if he doesn't fit in your squad, it's not as easy in Major League Soccer just to flip him and send him somewhere else.
Right.
Well, I think it's probably less about where they're going to play him. It's how he's going to adjust the pieces around him, which we talked about with Messi. When you have a great player and they're signing him because they think he's going to be a great player for the foreseeable future for them, it's about how they fit these other pieces around him. Can they put these other guys around him to be the most successful? So for me, I think they know exactly what they want him to do. They want him to be a goal creator and a goal scorer. So that leaves you with, very few options, because that we already talked about, they know who their number 9 is going to be, even if it's rotated between Morris and Diaz. It's more about he's going to play a 10 or a soft 9 or whatever it is, and what are the pieces around them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see.
Gordo, we live in crazy times right now. What are things looking like in the real estate market?
Oh, Dax, you know that rates are always going to be the best with Synergy One lending, and those are always going to fluctuate. But one thing that never fluctuates, that's the service you get with Erin from Fikes Realty Group. She is the #1 agent I will refer all my clients to. She handles all the obstacles up front, really takes the stress out of any transaction and move that you have. Check out my girl, Erin Mishu with Fikes Realty Group at majorleague-realestate.com.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I wanted to talk about 2 other young players that aren't coming into MLS, but actually taking off and leaving us for Liga MX. And you got Brandon Vasquez going to Monterrey and Cade Cowell going to Chivas, Guadalajara. Brandon Vasquez with 3 goals in 176 minutes. Pretty good start, pretty good return. I'm hoping that Cincinnati has some type of bonus incentive in there for him producing or getting on the field. Cade Cowell, though, like that one was also a bit of a head scratcher for me because Chivas has notoriously been a club that only accepts Mexican players or only puts Mexican players on the field. And Cade Cowell is, I think, had already turned down potentially playing for Mexico. Obviously, he was playing full U.S. men's national team. It made me think of that Wedding Crashers scene where he's laying in bed, Wilson's laying in bed, and she's like, "Are you completely full of shit or just 50%?" And he's like, I hope I'm 50%, but I don't really know anymore. It's just like, okay, Chivas, one, what are you doing? And two, who's bigger question though, like short term, who's going to have more success? Which one's a better move short term? Brandon Vasquez to Monterrey, Cade Cowell to Chivas.
Brandon Vasquez has already answered that question, dude.
Okay.
I knew Gordo wanted to take the easy answer.
I mean,
that's the shortest term. I'm talking about short
term.
But
we know Gordo, he can't see past tomorrow. So he only sees what he sees right now.
I have facts. This guy's come in, scored 3 goals already. He looks amazing.
Looks like he fits.
He looks like he fits, dude. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's going to dominate that league, to be completely honest. I mean, they he's showing it early. And Cade Cowell, he's still a work in progress. He has always been a work in progress, even with the Earthquakes, even with the national team. He comes in, he shows bits and pieces of brilliance and being really dangerous, but I think he's still got a lot of improvement. And if you talk to guys that have been closest to him and have coached him, it's like, listen, this guy can do whatever. And you almost get frustrated because you know what he can do, but he doesn't do it all the time. So he's got a lot of learning to do, and he's got some growing pains to go through. I think, what you said with the Chivas was an absolute head scratcher. So what they do with him, I mean, why are they going to break their 100-year, whatever code for Cade? If they don't have big plans for him or see something special in him. So I think that I could see him having a really long career in Mexico. He works his tail off. He's a handful.
Cade Cowell or Brandon Vasquez?
Well, I mean, Vasquez is a handful, but I'm saying Cade.
Okay.
A quick Google search, which we should have done this before we started recording. Cade Cowell, he's an active member of the U.S. men's national team, but he did become a Mexican citizen a couple weeks before his transfer to Chivas. So
I know that.
So that's still intact. If you want to get technical,
I saw that
technicality. And Chivas has done this in the past, like these technicalities, but this is almost sacrilegious for Chivas to put an American on the field.
Because he's wearing the red, white, and blue. Yeah. So
True.
I mean, that's
maybe they think it's good for business.
Vasquez is the short term. He's going to be the better in the short term, but I think Cade Cowell could definitely have a long, great career in Mexico. I could see that happening.
Leave it to Gordo to be super short-sighted. I'm not surprised.
So you also have 5 years difference. Vasquez 25, Cade Cowell 20.
Here's my point. Brandon Vasquez right now, he's off to a hot start. He's on a better team. Like Monterrey is like objectively a fantastic team. Like they're one of the best teams in North America. And he's going to get chances. He's going to get goals. Like he's going to score. Like that's what he did in MLS. And I think he's only going to get a little bit better and he's going to continue to grow. And I think if the argument is what's the highest level you can possibly play at, and let's say for argument's sake that both of those guys had fleeting interest in Europe, right? Because I think we saw both of them maybe were flirting with some opportunities in Europe for whatever reason. I think a couple teams in Germany were maybe interested in Brandon Vasquez, but for one reason or another, it wasn't the right opportunity situation for him. Cade Cowell, for me, the reason why, if you're a Cade Cowell, you go to Mexico is so you can work on the things that you're not great at. Cade Cowell, what are his strengths? Unbelievably athletic, very fit.
Verticality.
Physical tools that a lot of people would salivate over. What are some things he needs to work on? Well, technically, he's not great, right? Like technically, he's got a heavy touch. He's not super comfortable coming into the middle of the field and combining with teammates. I think it's a fantastic move for Cade Cowell. I think it's awesome that he goes to a league that prioritizes technical ability. He goes to a league that prioritizes combination play. And he goes to a league where he's on one of the biggest teams and most important teams in Mexico. And not just this year, but their history. They are one of the most important teams in Mexico. And the pressure on him to perform will be greater. No disrespect to the San Jose Earthquakes, but I think he stagnated there. I think he exploded onto the scene. He was super exciting. And for one reason or another, he just kind of started to go a little bit flat, right? And he did not continue to improve. I think that he is going to get better, and I think he's going to improve in Mexico. And I think that he has the potential, if he has a couple good years at Chivas, to get sold for pretty big money, which would be good business for Chivas and great business for San Jose, because they probably retain some sort of sell-on percentage. And so I'm looking at this as he's got 5 years on Brandon Vasquez, his younger, which obviously means I think his ceiling is significantly higher if the barometer is going to Europe and playing in Europe. That's right now, Gordo's right, short term, Brandon Vasquez seems like a no-brainer home run signing for Monterrey, which they have a ton of those guys, right? And so, look, for me, I just think Cade Cowell is going to improve in Mexico, and I think it was a really good move for him.
I'm gonna straddle the fence here and agree with both of you. Vasquez.
All right, go ahead.
Well, can I answer? And then you'll find out. Vasquez is the short-term easy answer. He is the better choice to sign right now. But when I think of Liga MX, when I think of Mexican players, I don't come up with defenders being the premier export or the premier product that Mexico produces. I think of midfielders. So I think that Cade Cowell going to Chivas and developing as a midfielder, as a winger, whatever, that's who I think of as the most dangerous Mexican player. Is there 7-11, maybe even Cade Cowell being an incredible outside back for the U.S. I could see that happening too. An attacking option that plays in a wing back position. Now, Cade Cowell probably don't want to hear that at 20 years old being an attacker. But the reality is that, sometimes that dictates your development. Brandon Vasquez is going to score goals for Monterrey, but I don't know if I see much more in terms of a next step for him. Going and scoring in Mexico hasn't really produced like a direct line to Europe. I could see him going to Mexico, playing for a couple of years, coming back here and taking a designated player spot in MLS if he does well in Mexico. Cade Cowell, though, at 20 years old, so you just agree with me. Turns that out.
You agree with me. You're not straddling the fence.
Well, you agree with me because you said everything I said. So does that mean that's the right one? Because I said exactly.
Short term, long term. It is a bit of a risk. I think it's a bigger risk for Cade Cowell, though.
I don't think it's a big risk for him at all.
It's a bigger risk for him. He's going to go over there and get better.
What are you where are you going to go?
On a bench.
I don't know what the transfer fee was, but you're not paying decent to big money to bring in a 20-year-old who you think has the potential to do really well to bury him on the bench, unless he's really bad. And I don't think he's going to be really bad. I think he's gonna do well there, and I think he's going to have success. And I think that eventually he will get sold to a bigger club or a bigger league in Europe.
I think he moves out of Chivas to another club in Mexico before he goes anywhere else.
I do too.
Because I think that there are external pressures here that we touched on briefly, but him being an American, if he doesn't produce and produce quick, I think that the tides could turn on him being on the field pretty fast. Players
move around in Liga MX more than Major League Soccer. Look at Herculez Gomez. He played for 10 teams in that league. They trade teams.
Journeymen? Excellent journeyman, by the way. Excellent journeyman shout.
Excellent.
We should get Herc on here to get his take.
That's a good invite. We should hit up Herc. All right, let's close this up. Let's close this up with the ongoing saga, the ongoing debate that is Saudi Arabia, and now Major League Soccer, which I don't know how much they may have no influence in this at all, but I'd have to think they at least have some say of Inter Miami going to Saudi to play 3 preseason games. I think they had one this morning, right, Dex? Al Hilal, Al Nasser, and then, or is it just 2 there? And then they go to Hong Kong?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, they're in Saudi and they're playing the Saudi League. We've had some pretty spirited debates about whether or not the Saudi League is going to take off, what it's going to look like, whether it's a viable product. With Major League Soccer sending their shiniest, newest, most valuable commodity to Saudi, Dax, I would like to hear from you. How does this make you feel?
Well, we know the reason why they're going over there.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Did you see
a lot of dollars?
Did you see
But that's been the reason that we are continually talking about this, because it's money. It is big time dollars to bring US to bring players to Saudi.
Did you see the plane these guys flew over on?
No, I didn't.
I tell you what, it was a luxury 5-star hotel with wings. All right, certainly wasn't the charter flights that we've been taking around MLS. Which I'm not complaining. The charter flights are excellent.
It wasn't the Delta 727.
It wasn't
from 1986.
No. So I gotta say, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's just preseason. It's not an official competition. Like, these guys are going over there to actually get a pretty high, like, in terms of a preseason game, let's look at it from just strictly an Inter Miami perspective, or even a DC United perspective, right? If you're looking at it from just like, we want to get some like really competitive games type of situation. Well, first things first, the weather's great, right? So you go over there, the weather's taken care of. That's not a problem. Second thing is that these teams I think they're in the middle of their seasons, right? So Al Hilal, who just beat Inter Miami 4-3, I watched the first half of it at our training facility, and it was 2-0 after 13 minutes, and Miami's heads were spinning. And it was a pretty high-level performance by Al Hilal, and Miami obviously came back. I think it was 3-3. And they lost in the last minute 4-3. But
what's different about every time an MLS team goes to Mexico and gets their heads handed to them in their first 20 minutes against a Mexican team in preseason? It's the same thing.
Well, it's a little bit different because aren't Mexican teams? They're in the middle of their season right now. But I just think that in general, you go over there, you get paid. They want the Ronaldo Messi thing. Like, what are you supposed to like? You have to say yes to that. There is no saying no to that. Right?
Gordo, you want to weigh in on telling Dax why I've been right this whole time? Because he's making my argument for me.
Dan.
Like, right about what?
You're the smart guy. You're supposed to be the smart guy. Like, there's nothing else to it. What are you talking about?
It's just money.
It's money.
And it's going to keep growing is my point. My point is this is value. You guys said that this would be dead by now, and now
we did not. We talked about this 6
going.
months ago. We talked about this 6 months ago. We did not say we'd be dead in 6 months. What
maybe
we said was
maybe that's an exaggeration.
Maybe it's an exaggeration. Okay, we said this is not sustainable in the long term. What does that mean? 5, 6, 10 years from now, like, is this sustainable? I don't think so.
And we've already said what they have the World Cup. How many years after our World Cup? Is it 2030 or is it 34?
I have no idea. Have they even announced that?
Anywhere. It's not going anywhere, Dan. They're going to pay players. They're going to have exciting signings, but players are already leaving. Benzema's
exactly.
leaving. That's
the point.
But they're right
players
now.
Aren't happy. Players are leaving.
Yeah, but players left MLS too.
Quality of life is not sustainable for them or their families. These guys do not want to go over there. They want the paycheck. Yes. Okay. That's always been the big debate, and I understand. They're going to take the money. Do they want to be there? No. And can they buy everybody to create a league that is sustainable? That was always the question mark. I still say no. Messi going over there in Miami means nothing, dude.
Yeah,
Zero.
well, like, it's obvious. It's an obvious Messi versus Ronaldo thing. Let's make a big deal out of it. We'll put it on Apple TV so all these different countries can watch it. Like, it makes sense from a business perspective, but that's not going to happen again. Messi's only here for 2 more years.
They're milking the cow, dude. They're milking the cow.
You think that they'll put, because DC United's over there right now. You think that DC United games are going to be on Apple TV?
Dude, I don't know if Apple TV would
so.
put DC United on their regular
On the main
season
broadcast?
pass right now.
Okay.
You were just watching this. You're like, oh, Messi's going over there. I'm gonna hit these guys.
Yeah. Was this like planned out, Gargs?
Yo, premeditated? This is premeditated.
Do you
for
think
sure.
this is helping your argument? I mean, this is an obvious thing. It's a low hanging fruit, of course. MLS teams, Messi and Ronaldo. Let's make a bunch of money. And by the way, like, I don't know how many Mexican teams would want to host an MLS team in preseason right now, because the Mexican teams are in the middle of their seasons. At least in Saudi Arabia, I'm sure that these guys can put games on hold, push games back. I mean, if you looked at the stadium, it was a sold out.
Did you guys not go to Mexico and play Mexican teams in preseason?
No.
I did all the time.
When?
You guys didn't do that?
No.
No. Yeah, for sure.
Legit clubs.
I mean, we would go down there and get.
You're not playing big
tossed
teams
around by their U19 teams.
Okay,
yeah,
that's my point.
No, I'm saying we'd play their first teams too. For sure. I don't know. It just seems like it's another step, and I know that like you guys are bullish against it, which I can sympathize with that, but I don't know. It's dollars, and it keeps happening, and we're talking about we talked about this the other day. Them not necessarily building the infrastructure underneath it. It's just the top level, right? So they have to do that. Go ahead, Gordo. What do you got?
All right, listen. Are you drawing any parallels between China and whatever this league is that we're talking about?
Saudi Pro League.
You're talking about the Chinese league?
China.
They did this. They did this too.
They were doing this 10 years ago. They were signing the Brazilians, the second-tier Brazilian guys to big money, trying to boost their league, and it didn't happen for the same reasons. Because
people don't want to live in China.
They went over to China. It was poor living conditions. They didn't want to be there. All the things, even though they had a big check, they went and they left. And guess what? During that time, guess what happened? China called over Beckham. We went over there. I was with Beckham doing 3 China tours. And we went there. Asians love him. And he walked around. He signed all the autographs, and we left. We took the money, and nothing happened. So, any of this, is any of this familiar to you?
I don't know. What's the Chinese league doing right now? No. You're good. What's the Chinese? I don't know why I'm asking you what the Chinese league doing right now.
You're asking that question because it's not relevant in the global game, which is the same argument that me and Gordo have made, is that the money is great and the money's never going to dry up, and they're going to continue to try to make it this big thing. But I don't think it's ever going to be extremely relevant in the global game. Do
you think MLS is going to be relevant in the global game?
Eventually, I do. Yep.
And what part of, I guess, where is the relevance fall? Like what
the
will
relevance
make it relevant?
and the big difference between MLS and Saudi Arabia is that people want to live in the US. That's the biggest difference. But
I didn't ask the question correctly. What part of Major League Soccer will make it relevant in the global game? Is it the best players will be playing here? They'll be the best teams in the world. Like it'll be the best talent at the younger ages. I think I have an idea of why it will be relevant, but I'd like to hear from you.
I'll go. I think club autonomy is going to be important. So I think, over the next 20 years, if the players union can come up with, some way to wiggle in some club autonomy to where our clubs and our top clubs, whoever they decide to be, and it's going to be dollars, and with the owners, whatever 4 clubs and owners want to really go for it and spend money and get top tier world talent, and a lot of it, and spend a ton of money and to compete on the world stage, I think that's going to be when the MLS breaks through on the world stage, because we will never ever be relevant on the world stage ever with our current structure, the way that it's structured ever, because half of these, even like the French league, you have 3 teams that the common soccer fan knows, right? And that's because those are the top teams in Liga 1. that are going to spend dollars, it's PSG or whatever, that are being displayed in Champions League and stuff like that. So however long it takes for the MLS to get in those tournaments and get in playing those top tier teams, that's going to be the difference. So it can last 100 years if the MLS is not willing to budge, or it could be shorter than that. But I think that's going to be the game changer.
It's about the salary cap. Yeah, it's about the salary cap. If the salary cap is great for parity, and it's great for competition, and it's great for every team thinking that they have a chance to win every year, which is awesome. That's exactly what the league wants. The only way you start to compete on a global scale with all the best leagues in the world is that you have to somehow figure out a way to create a minimum salary floor and a maximum, right? Like, I think there's got to be some sort of in between. Call in 10 years, if the owners agree to say, all right, our minimum salary for every team salary outlay will be $50 million. Choose to spend it how you want it. Maximum salary spend is $75 million. Okay. Spend it how you want it. Get whatever players you want. But in general, the way that MLS becomes extremely relevant in not just watchability and not just TV ratings shooting through the roof is obviously bringing in better players, but also developing very good homegrown American players that have roots in their communities, bringing in the Miguel Almirones and the Thiago Almadas, and the young player that the owners are going to be able to say, look at this. We bring this kid in for $5 to $10 million and we sell him for $25 to $30 million to the Prem. Like, that is the path that I think MLS will take and should take to try to become a top 5 league in the world. And will they ever pass the Premier League or the Bundesliga? I just don't know. The history of these leagues, it's so ingrained, and the whole promotion relegation thing is so ingrained in soccer purists' minds that I don't know if MLS and the version of American soccer that we have is ever going to be the most desirable on the world stage, but it will be a player. It will be a league that is coveted and watched once you start to raise those salary floors a little bit.
I guess, I can see both of those things, and I would agree. I think the big piece, though, that maybe they're missing, because they are able to bring in the best players. They are able to provide them some type of living situation that's at least tenable, because all these guys are going over to see it, right? And granted, the cost of acquiring that talent is a lot higher than it is in Major League Soccer, because the living in the US is amazing. But what I think that the key will be for them is if they can organize whatever their CONCACAF is. I think it's maybe the Asian Football Federation, AFC, Confederation. If they're able to organize that to the point where they can actually develop a base, because I do think that I still am a believer in Major League Soccer because of the American talent. Same way that the Premiership is as good as it is because of the consistent English talent that's there. If they're able to organize that, I don't see how Saudi couldn't be a player in the long term.
Maybe, because you have to have that balance. You have
to have the balance.
You can't just bring in all these high-priced foreign guys and then say, all right, like, we're going to be able to sustain this. You have to intersperse it with super talented American players or Saudi players that then you can sell to other big leagues, so the owners know that they're not just losing money every year.
Which is why I think we're witnessing that in the evolution of Major League Soccer's ownership groups. They are investing in developing the players that support the rest of the league. Correct. But now you're talking about Saudi money and Middle Eastern money that doesn't give a shit if they lose money, right? Like, there's no bottom line. We're not going to figure out the answers, but I do think it is still somewhat interesting.
We're gonna revisit all these pods in 10 years when you've taken over.
I think Gordo will be he'll be revisiting them for sure. We'll wait on that. All right, boys. Well, Dax, listen, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there. Gordo, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there. New hips and all.